How's it going, everyone? Okay. You guys didn't have coffee, did you? Yeah. Okay. Let's try that again. How's it going, y'all? Okay, there we go. Okay, all right. All right, so I'm really excited about this chat today. Cultural relevance, fandom, you know, some jargon that we hear quite a lot. And so I'd love for us to break that down and really talk about PacSun, which is such an awesome brand. Before I do that, we'll just do some quick intros. So I'm Jonathan Jordan. Everyone calls me JJ, and I think I have the best job in the world. I'm the general manager of at Edelman, and for the Southern California market, which is LA, San Diego, and Orange County. If you don't know Edelman, we're the world's largest communications agency. Some people might think that's PR, but we're really earned at the core, and we do a whole lot more than earned. And PR, I have some of my colleagues here from our influencer team and our brand team. And so really happy to be here. I would love a quick intro. And it's going to be a little bit different. Tell us your name and what you do, and then how you landed at PacSun, but also who's your favorite Rams football player?
Okay, thanks, JJ. Want to give a special shout out to the Rams for hosting us here today. They are also amazing brand and community philanthropic partners for PacSun. And thank you, Brand Innovators, for having us also. It's super special to share the stage with Rich Cox, who is a rising star that I nominated, but really goes beyond that and has been so instrumental over the past decade and more in terms of really transforming PacSun to the amazing brand that it is today. So a very special moment for me to share the stage with you, Rich. I'm Brie Olson. I'm the CEO of PacSun. I have the privilege of being in my role. It's been quite recent, but I've been with the company for 17 years. So it's been a really long, beautiful journey in really rethinking what the customer is looking for from PacSun and making it a brand that can stand the test of time. So that's been an absolute privilege. I started in retail at age 15, actually working in the stockroom. I couldn't get a job on the sales floor, so I was happy to take a position, you know, folding clothes and servicing the customer from that standpoint, and have been in retail ever since. So love the retail side of things, love being at the helm of a brand and working with such amazing people such as Rich, who I'm very fortunate to have as a part of our team.
Thanks, Brie. Talking me up. Richard Cox, let's see, title, VP of Men's. I wear a lot of hats. I oversee our merchandising, our design team, and I head up a lot of the brand partnerships and collaborations that we do for the company. So like Brie said, I've been here a long time. 15 years, I think, is what it is across 2 different stints. I'm one of the many boomerangs. If you meet PacSun people, we have boomerangs. We leave the nest, we go explore, we come back. And I'm one of those. So 15 years across the 2 stints. I got into retail through PacSun, straight out of college, was recruited. We had a training program at that time. We got to see multiple parts of the business, and I really wanted to get into merchandising. Had a passion for fashion, but wanted to do something that was a bit more concrete in terms of business and coming up with solutions and getting more creative in terms of how to drive revenue. I was one of those kids who couldn't afford all the clothes that I saw when I was growing up, and so it was very aspirational for me, and I was like, how do I get into this? It bit me. Retail bites you immediately or you hate it. And that's why I kind of like dove into it, and working with Brie has just been amazing. You said 17, so 15. So yeah, I think what keeps me up is the transformation process that PacSun has gone through over the years, and just being, you know, I consider myself a part of that transformation, and it's a passion that we have had. And I just love diving into it. In terms of my favorite Rams player, that's gonna be Aaron Donald.
Okay, Aaron Donald. That was really smart to like just skip that question that you've been media trained, right? Just like, we love all the players,
So many
right?
favorite players.
They're all great. All right. Brie, this is for you. Now, a lot of us know PacSun. When you ask someone about the brand, you know, there's the smile, there's such a brand affinity. A lot of times, you know, folks in our office, they're like, yeah, I used to shop there when I was a kid. I used to, you know, buy all my clothes there in the mall. So this is a beloved brand. And Rich, you talked about a transformation. Brie, maybe tell us, what is this evolution that the brand has been on, and sort of where are you today?
Yeah, I think the brand is constantly evolving. As our customer is fluid and in constant evolution, the brand will never reach a moment where it's fully defined. We will continue to evolve alongside the consumer, and the consumer really is our guiding light. So we consider the customer kind of the cultural pioneer of the future, and that's how we think about it, and all of our decisions are made around that. When I first joined the organization almost 17 years ago, it was really rooted in surf and skate. But what I love about PacSun, which has not changed, is the fluid and dynamic nature that really forms the brand. And what I mean by that is we're not a single vertical brand. So I came from Abercrombie. Before that, I was at Valentino. Those are both really great brands in their own right, but they, have more difficulty and more challenges in the reinvention cycle when they fall out of favor. What I loved about PacSun and what drew me to the organization to begin with was the really exciting and dynamic nature in which we curate the best of brands, and we are also very proud of the brand that we've built. PacSun itself is now considered a highly coveted brand by Gen Z, and people are proud to wear our denim, to wear our fleece, to wear our tees. And so it's really exciting to be able to both have the brand and then be a house of brands underneath that.
Awesome. Okay. Valentino to PacSun. That's pretty amazing. Any lessons learned from sort of that luxury house versus, PacSun?
Yeah, I think what was great about starting out in luxury is really it's at the pinnacle of creativity and innovation. You're working with people that are really at the forefront of reinvention, and they're also looking to historical references with each collection that they're designing. And so being able to bring some of those philosophies around really leading with creativity and innovation has helped PacSun in its redefinition of the brand.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Rich, this question is coming to you. We're still talking about this evolution. Shameless plug. Edelman, we do a ton of research. We do a ton of IP, and we just give it away. We think every brand should have the information that we have. Now, what you do with that information is all on you. But our teams work with our brands and clients to use that intel for insight and strategy. But we recently did, we launched it at Cannes. We at least recently did a brand trust study, and we also studied Gen Z. And so, Rich, this next question is coming to you. We found that 78% of consumers say that they uncover the things that attract them and make them loyal to a brand after their first purchase. Right? And so from a PacSun perspective, how do you think about carrying on that relationship after that first purchase?
I mean, there's the technical side of that in terms of how our retention team communicates with them. But I think what makes us unique is we try to kill them with consistency. So I'm sure their first time shopping us, there was something creative, something special, or a story we told that influence them to make that first purchase. And so our best way to get them coming back is to continue to beat them over the head with newer ideas, more creativity. So our team is pretty relentless, or we try to be as relentless as we can with following up great ideas with additional great ideas that are outside the box. And then we try to figure out, based on who purchased what item in the past, how best to curate that marketing message to those previous buyers. So I think it's just consistency.
Consistency. Okay. That would make sense because it's such a beloved brand over so many years. I mean, there's got to be that consistent effort behind the stage. Brie, last question on this evolution piece. You've made a concerted effort to move towards women consumers. It's been a historically surf and skate brand. What are you doing to better connect with women consumers?
I think at PacSun, one of the things that we changed was what did we want our overall brand purpose to be? And the purpose for the organization really is about inspiring the future generations of consumers. And so that was an important shift. Another important shift, as you noted, was we were about 80-20 when I started 17 years ago, in terms of male to female and how we welcomed the consumer. And so there were some significant shifts that we needed to make, both to the physical stores as well as the digital experience, and really trying to build out a much more inclusive community. And that included signing Kendall and Kylie 10 years ago when the girls were 12 and 15, and introducing fashion to the female consumer when we had predominantly been surf or skate-led. It also is more recent examples would be partnerships with Storm Reed and Ryan Destiny, and helping to consistently be in front of the female consumer. And lastly, recognizing the gender fluidity and that our consumer really enjoys shopping in a more inclusive environment altogether. And so 3 years ago, we launched gender fluid clothing line, as well as shopping experiences, both digitally and in our physical spaces.
Well, you guys are on it. You're right on it. Okay. Well, congratulations
Thank
on that
you.
80 to 20. That's a lot to come back from. All right. Let's pivot. But in a minute, I'm going to open it up for questions from the audience. So we'll give you a little time for some questions so you can be thoughtful about your question. Okay. Let's talk about cultural relevance and authenticity. These are two words that every marketer in this room has heard a million and billion times. And by now our eyes sort of glaze over, but we know it's still important. Tell us about how PacSun thinks about authenticity, cultural relevance, because it is important, and you seem to have it. But how do you know when you have it? How do you get it if you don't have it? So how does PacSun think about these two things?
I think one of the things we're most proud of is our internal talent pipeline. Having people who work as a part of the team, and Rich leads a lot of these teams that are, really listening to our consumer. I think active listening is super important, and making sure that you're crowdsourcing the future alongside your brand, as opposed to doing the inverse and really trying to attract customers once you've already established something. Those are some of our guiding principles in terms of how we do that best. I think also really important is thinking about where the customer is and then building alongside them. So an example I have of that is Roblox. Our initiative to build in Roblox, the first time we tried it, it actually failed. We really didn't have a great initial launch, but we knew the customer was there. So we came back and we built a culture of creativity, innovation, but also the ability to make mistakes and say, hey, we know there's a lot of customers on there. How can we do it better and differently? And I'm really proud to share that about 4 months ago, we relaunched our Roblox game, and we have over 10 million active users. And the average time that they spend is 28 minutes. So that's a long time to be engaging with our brand. And I think allowing the team also to make mistakes makes us authentic, and then we're also authentic to the consumer. Another example would be TikTok and how we use that platform and have over 2 million followers on the platform, and really engaging with them with authentic content. So the content that resonates the most for us on TikTok are actually unboxing in our physical stores by our store associates. So showing them a really authentic, genuine experience of what's coming new and what's in the pipeline for brands that they care about or what they want to see next.
Yeah. So you failed, and you tried it again, and it worked. Novel. Okay. Congratulations on that, because it's you hear these stories of, it didn't work the first time, and like the whole team is canned, and then everyone's just scared to try things from then on. It's not good. Okay. How about you? I'll ask you that same question. How do you think about cultural relevance, authenticity in the brand? What's your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, from call it a brand creation side of the business, it comes from meeting the customer where they are and trying to engage with where they are. So we're a fashion brand, and obviously, we'll be focused on fashion, but I think to maintain or to achieve that cultural relevance, we need to engage in the different parts of our customers' lives or our community's lives. So whether it's community give back, partnerships, like things we do with the Rams or things we do with LAFC, or it's engaging in just sports in general from a product perspective, like our partnership with Formula One. We're trying to engage with them in the art world, because we know for the youth, art is becoming more and more popular. So that's why we wanted to partner with the Met, and then even just things like music and our music partnerships. So we are feeling like we are trying to attack different parts of our community's lives to be relevant and kind of be in the conversation with them at all times. And so that's part of the approach. I think that's how you kind of get there. But I also think we never feel like we're completely there, because then we'll be too complacent, is probably the other thing on our team. There's a lot of constant debate and internally, and what are we doing next, and never feeling like you're there. And I think that has helped in terms of our output, because of just that thought process. And then I do think the building of the brand, what Brie spoke to earlier, that was a critical, I think, turning point for us. and it was realizing that we are a brand, and not necessarily the brand meaning our private label product, but everything that we do and everything that happens under the PacSun umbrella helps evoke that brand to our community. And so once that light bulb went off, I think it kind of changed a lot of conversations in our building.
I love that. I would love to be a fly on the wall in some of those conversations when you guys are going at it. I love that. Okay, so let's, one more question and then we're going to throw it out to the audience. Let's talk Gen Z because we're legally obligated to talk about Gen Z. All right, so just kidding, y'all. One more stat, but I want to hear your response to this stat because it just blew me away. And it's like we know it, but until you see the actual response, it's kind of nuts. So this Gen Z report we did found that 68% of people say that teenagers and college-age people influence where and how they shop. And this rose 7 points from last year. So teenagers and young adults and college-age people are influencing how we all shop. Nuts. So from a PacSun perspective, obviously you skew a little younger in terms of demographic, but how does that change your thinking around like young adult, like older generations or even parents, and so in terms of their consumer behaviors? Or does it? And this is for both of you.
We really don't talk to the parents at all. We're 100% focused on the final consumer, the one that's going to be, loving and wearing and the repeat purchases. And we love Gen Z. I think that they're such an incredible and interesting and fascinating group, and they care so deeply. And I think if you can connect with them on the things they care about, which is why we're really kind of at a pivotal point between the intersection of sports, culture, music, fashion, all the things they care about. As you build that community and you lean in, and on important cultural moments, you're there and you show up, but you allow for there to be natural, authentic dialogue, I think you really create a unique opportunity to resonate as one of their favorite brands. And that's been really exciting. And from, Snap to TikTok to IG, Threads, there's so many ways to connect with them in real life and physical experiences and also on digital experiences. I think it's just such a joy, and it does not surprise me that they're influencing the way that the world will shop go forward. We've had a lot of success also with live stream selling, which we know is very popular globally, in particular in Asia, but also very exciting to see how that's resonating with the younger consumer.
You said Threads, so I'm assuming you guys are still going hard on Threads?
I would say on any of these platforms, it's important to have a presence. It's also important not to create impact or expectations. So we had no expectations for the platform, and it's another exciting touch point, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think really taking the opportunity and looking at it as a privilege to have all of these touch points where the customer is giving us continuous live feedback is really exciting. We don't have to wait to find out what they think. They tell us immediately. So we can launch something, we put it up, within seconds we have feedback. So I look at that feedback circle as a really unique opportunity and a privilege with the customer that we perhaps didn't have a decade ago.
All right, let's open it up. Any questions from the audience? Any PacSun fans? It's got to be one. Oh, there we go.
And this is both directed towards Rich and Brie. How do you foresee, thank you, phone in my hand. How do you foresee the future of PacSun, and how do you believe that will impact culture moving forward? So the next 10 years, next 15 years?
I think brands will absolutely continue to be at a cornerstone of importance of what matters to our consumer. And so building brand relationships, continuing to build really key partnerships. When PacSun builds a brand relationship, it's for the long term, right? And so a lot of our key relationships span a decade or longer in terms of those partnerships. I think finding creative ways of how to show up across the board with the consumer is important, but beyond building kind of the product side, what PacSun is really keen to build is the community side, which I think really has the longevity that we're looking at over the next 10 years and thinking about alternative revenue streams and different ways to connect with the consumer and different ways to do business-to-business partnerships are things that, as we think about the long term for the organization, are very important. I don't know, Rich, what you want to add?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say was the business-to-business side. I think we are full steam ahead on trying to figure out brand partnerships that are thinking outside the box that may not necessarily be your traditional brand partnership that you would think a retailer would have. Brands are very important, especially from an apparel standpoint, and that those relationships. But in terms of what makes us unique is our ability or our relentlessness to look for partnerships outside of that, things that would shock you, industries that would surprise you. Like, why would PacSun work with that? Well, there's a story to tell there. So I think that's where we're headed.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, great question. Anybody else? We got a couple back here, one in here, and one there.
Just doubling down on that. Like speaking about partnerships, what is your process as far as like vetting those? Like you said, obviously you prioritize like having outside of the box partnerships, and then like even going back to, I think you guys like initially launched Essentials with Jerry, right? Which obviously like that's grown to something, you know, massive now. But how do you guys go about like vetting again, whether it's an individual, an entity? Like, can you speak a little more to that?
Take that one, yeah.
There's a method to the madness, but it's a team effort. I wish I could say it was like a very legitimate process, but there are some checkpoints. So it starts with our LRP. We have, our long range planning meetings. We put down on a sheet of paper, these are the brands we want to go after. These are the ideas that are important. And we try to come up with that checklist. The list is way too long. We'll never get to all of them. And we continue to update those. From there, we have plenty of check-in meetings. There's going to be one on Thursday where teams sit down. Is this still the list we're going after? And we got multiple people working on reaching out, making those inroads and developing those relationships with partners. And it's almost a check-in meeting. Where are you at on meeting them? Where are you at on meeting them? Do we still think we want to go after this? So it's like some of those tactical kind of check-in points. And then from there, it's a process. It depends on the partner. It depends on how big of a relationship is going to be and how deep. Each one takes a life of its own. And what I would add on to all of that, and you kind of said it, Brie, was we take a lot of L's. So we do end up, trying some things they don't necessarily pan out. And sometimes it's about the story that we want to tell and less about the volume that you want to generate. When we stopped thinking about everything needed to be massive is when we started making the most progress.
I'd also say Rich and his team are really amazing, not only at creating brand partnerships with established brands, but incubating up-and-coming designers or new brands that really don't have a large reach or following, but that he or the team have identified as someone to watch, and just keeping that cultural relevancy and having so many relationships, in particular here in Los Angeles, where we're based, and constantly making the effort to have those relationships, because those relationships, such as what we've had with Jerry Lorenzo over the last 10 years, really proved to be so meaningful in creating longevity and success, kind of shared success for the brands.
Maybe one more. And Rich, you should think about running for president, dude. Just do it, man. You're awesome. Cool. One more question, and then we'll go back. I've got one more, too.
Your name and your company name so we all can get to know each other.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Matt Frary, Academy of Pop. We're an entertainment platform that's using AI, changing the way we do entertainment. Real quick, first off, I just want to let you guys know, I just texted my 15-year-old son that you guys were on the panel, and I think he's more excited that you guys are here because he just texted me in all caps, "I love PacSun." So he's one of your big customers. I think he's more excited possibly than I'm sitting in front of Cooper Cup's locker. I wonder, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, but I'm wondering how you navigate being on the cultural edge, right? It's like a nice edge. You've got brands that you're partnering with, like Fear of God, for example, Essentials, which, by the way, we literally sit outside PacSun when the new sizes come in, and we just sit and wait until my son's sizes actually comes in. So we kind of know the schedule of when it comes into our local PacSun. But how do you navigate the cultural relevancy when one partnership, one tweet, I don't know what we're calling them, I don't know if we're calling them tweets anymore, one thread, any of that stuff could possibly diminish all the work that you've done with the wrong partnership. So, and I think you know some partnerships recently that have done that to other brands. So how are you guys navigating that? Like, what kind of conversations are you having right now to determine if that brand and a partnership with an influencer, for example, could possibly wipe out all the equity that you've built?
There's volatility for sure in any relationship, in any situation with any creator, any celebrity. We've certainly gone through our share of those on the PacSun side and seen our brand partners fare through those as well. If you really have long-term brand partnership at the core, and you have shared values, and that's what we try to look for when we're creating brand partnerships, is that the brands themselves share core values, then you can usually weather through those, we call it storms. I think also being very transparent with the customer when stuff like that happens, and not shying away from the conversation, but allowing them to engage on your platform around the conversations, have the dialogue. Like, things happen, and allowing them to also see the transparency in which you're kind of operating has also led us to more positive outcomes when those types of things transpire, because that's going to happen kind of in any industry across any time frame. And I think what I was speaking to earlier, and really allowing it to be an opportunity to have that open pipeline of communication with the customer and embracing that, is kind of the magic. Rich, do you want to add to that one?
I'm glad you took that first.
Okay, no problem.
No, I think it's all about what was the intention of the partnership, I think helps clarify when we go through those tough times. So from my perspective, we're partnering with an individual only because they're popular, that makes that a little bit more dicey when times get tough. If we were partnering with them because of something in addition to that, there's a story they were telling, there's shared values, and then something tough comes up that maybe works against that initial intention, then it's very clear that it's time to move on, and it should be very clear when we're trying to explain that to a customer if we have to.
I love that answer. We're going to wrap up, but just in conclusion, a couple things that I've heard. I'm sure I see some people taking notes, but a couple things. Rich, I heard you talk about what's the story, which ultimately, as marketers, we have to have something more than just, oh, this person's cool, right? And so that's how that brand sustains. Brie, I'm still dumbfounded. It's great to hear a CEO say, yeah, we failed, and then we tried it again. And we just don't hear that much anymore. And so I'm sure you've created a culture where everyone feels like, let's try some stuff. Let's see what sticks. Let's see what works. And let's double down. And then after a while, you find that method to the madness. So kudos to you on building that culture. And I think my takeaway is these two are pretty cool, and that's why the brand is cool. And it's just refreshing to hear the both of you. So anyway, big cheers to you, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.